The three biggest predictors of how happy and how successful somebody is going to be at life are presence, inspiration, and how well somebody gets along with others. Presence is the foundation for everything. Some people are born with a natural sense of presence. They're always in the moment. They're the life of the party. You know people like that where I was always locked in my thoughts, or this happened, why did this happen, how am I perceived, stuff like that. But there are some people with natural charisma where they are enjoying the moment. There's things that are going through their mind have to do with how much fun they're having at the time. Now, some people are born with presence. Most people aren't, the vast majority. But presence can be had by anybody. It just takes practice. It's a skill like any other skill, like studying or being good at a sport. The more you practice it, the easier it becomes and the more fun it becomes. When the presence I do is behind the dermis. It's the whole body and the whole face is a mask. I can see the darkness behind the mask. I can see the eye holes. I can see the nose holes. I am in my inner being, and what I do when I get into this state, the first thing I do is I push out anybody that's not me. I put them in a bubble and I push out all the thoughts that I'm having about anybody else but me. I push out because I don't want anybody else to be my hero. I want to be my own hero. And you do that when you get behind your inner being, because then you realize just how amazing you really are. So, and presence, what I do is I get behind that mask and I see the darkness behind the mask. And then I push out everybody in this bubble. So I'm an autonomous system. I am just my thoughts, and I'm behind the veil. So I'm really not even out there. I'm really not even in the environment. I am truly in my inner being. And then when you get to this state, there are all kinds of creative things you can do. Like I picture these nodes, one in my prefrontal cortex, which is the thinker, and then one that's in the occipital lobe, which is the observer. And they're nodes like Frankenstein's things on his neck, where being the observer, I can watch the thinker. And then what I could do is I could make sure that nothing is going on in these nodes just by looking at them from another space behind there, observing the observer. And I could make sure that nothing's happening in those nodes at all. Or if the thinker is going crazy, then I can get in the occipital lobe node, and then I can watch it, and then it will always dissipate. Normally, I'm pretty good about just getting in my inner being, and after that happens, then the thinker usually stops. But if something is more harder to get over, something was more devastating, or something was more impactful to me, then sometimes I have to observe the thinker. And once I observe the thinker, it stops, and then I can keep track of the nodes and look at the nodes and say, okay, nothing is happening here. So I know that my thoughts are completely stopped. So that's how I like to get into presence. I also like when I'm behind the inner being, I work on the chakras. I get into I just, that whole inner space back there is just so amazing and so tranquil. It's like the world doesn't even exist. It's like I'm an autonomous person, and I'm really operating in some type of uh, it's just a video game. It's like nothing else is real except for me, but I'm driving this thing like almost like an avatar, where nothing out there really means anything to me, and it's really a freeing thought. It's not like it's yeah, and it's because you could have something impactful, and you can spend a few hours or even a few days being angry, being sad, being judgmental, but it's only going to make the situation worse. Way, 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 way worse. Because that's the part that's the bad part. The part that really impacts you, it always goes away. The part that stays with you is how pig-headed anybody is to stay in their anger, or to stay in their sadness, or their judgmentalism, because those things, and guilt, shame, all the negative emotions, but the three and all of them I really have, but the judgmental one was one where I really realized how much it was bringing my life down. So I had to stop that, And that kind of leads to the third thing. I'll go over the second one, inspiration. But that leads to the third thing, where the judgmentalism was ridiculous for so many reasons, because when you judge people, you're judging yourself, and and for me, I would feel guilty, or I would feel some shame. Like if I treated somebody, or if I brought somebody's feelings down, it would be like that would haunt me later on, and I'm like, why did I do this? Now it's haunting me. Now I'm paying the price for being a jackass. So I see everybody as an extension of me. There's no everybody is all of their characteristics, whether they're a woman, what color they are, anything like that. I can always see me in that person, always, and there's no exception, because they are me. So being nice to others, for me, is allowing other people to laugh at me, not just with me, but at me, because when they laugh at me, it's not hurting me. I don't care, but it's bringing them joy. So if I bring them joy, then I don't have to worry about the shame or guilt of treating somebody bad. So when you treat others, it clears your mind, and it just clears your whole conscience. It's such a good place to be. And really, everybody is you, because you can see how you can fall into any one of these traps if you were in the same situation. Now, I'm not saying it should be, that it shouldn't be stopped, because we're a society and you can't have people running amok. So it has to be stopped. But you don't have to be judgmental about it. If you're a judge, then you have to make a judge that's best for society. But for yourself, if you're not a judge, don't judge anybody. Read it as an uninterested third party, and it will really make you powerful. The second thing that is really important is inspiration. Inspiration can allow you to do incredible things, and without inspiration, even mundane things become hard, because I gotta do this, then I gotta do this, then I gotta do this. But when you're inspired, it's fun. It's your inner being that's helping you along. It's saying that that here's your help, and people who are inspired are the people who do the most impactful things in the world. So it's really important. I know what it's like to be inspired, and I know what it's like to be uninspired. Early on, when I was a relatively calm person and not such a jackass like I was in the earlier years, I know what inspiration was. And there was a few times when I had to make decisions later on, after I became kind of a jackass to people, and after I became real judgmental to them and stuff like that, where I become a jackass, and I didn't really pay attention to inspiration anymore. And then the times when I needed to have inspiration, when it wasn't there, it cost me dearly. Everything became hard. Nothing seemed fun. The uninspired life is not a fun life at all. So those are the three things that you need in life to be the best, that are going to be the best predictor of how well you do and how well adjusted, and ultimately how sane you are. Because these presence has pulled me back from insanity, and I was insane. You can make no mistakes about it. I was in a place where you do not want to be, and presence brought me out of it. And the third one, treating everybody as an extension of myself, and not having any judgments with them, and having them always experience joy. Like I said, even if they're laughing at me. I remember the other day I was at the park, and I could hear people, and I like to put my hand on a tree and ground myself, and it's kind of it's kind of a populated park, and I remember hearing people laugh, and I remember hearing somebody say, like, and it was a little girl, "What's he doing?" And I could have easily have gotten self-conscious about that, but that was my spiritual opportunity. And then I thought to myself, wow, you know what? Not only is this not bothering me, but the idea that they're laughing at me and they're getting joy made me feel good, because, you know, that's something I don't have to feel shame about, or that's something I don't have to feel guilty about. Why did I make this person sad? Because a lot of times I felt guilty when I would make people sad. Suppose they had a really horrendous life. Suppose they were abused. Suppose, well, what if their whole life has been sadness, and here I am just adding on to it. Um, so I, I, uh, I don't want to, I would rather make people feel good, because then it's a non-issue. I don't feel like I have to make anybody feel good, because as long as I am always in a state of trying to make people feel joy, whether I'm just pushing it out mentally from my inner being and pushing it out, or if I'm spreading joy through speaking to people, and it's not a fakeness. Some people might think it is a fakeness. It's not a fakeness. It's just not being judgmental. It's not being angry. It's knowing how anybody's trap that they fell into, how that could happen to you, how you could have been abused, how this could happen to you, and how you might have done this. So yeah, again, I don't know if I already said this, but those are the three things that are the biggest predictor of how happy and successful somebody's going to be, in my opinion, through this life and beyond. Presence, inspiration, and how well somebody gets along with others. Thank you for listening, and you have a great day. Bye.